Yeah. Careful what you say, it's on camera. Okay, great. Well, I'm so excited. This is the first time I've had class all girls. It's kind of fun. So, Olivia will be here next week. There's 5 of you, all 8th grade, and even the next class, all the 6th graders who would come in 2 years are all girls. And then once we get down to 5th graders, so we do this every 2 years, so 2 years from now it would be 7th and 8th graders. There's some boys in there finally, but so anyway, good. So you can see on that yellow sheet, let's look at that first. Just wanted to quickly get started together and have you go around and say something, each of those things. See if you can answer each of those. I just handed it to you, the yellow sheet. Did I not give you one?
Oh.
The yellow sheet I just gave you.
That's different than what I had.
Oh, I didn't give you one yet. Yeah. So I'll give you that and this. There we go. So we need that one too.
Oh, I think I have that.
Okay. Yeah, just give it back to me. Okay. So who'd like to go first and share those 5 things about you? Gemma?
Sure. So, number 2.
Well, we know your name, I guess, in school.
Oh.
What school do you go to?
I'm
Yorktown.
New Yorktown.
Yorktown, yeah.
My favorite social media is TikTok.
TikTok, all
The
right.
last TV show I binge watched was Modern Family.
Oh, funny, seriously.
And my favorite sport, dance.
Ah, okay.
And my favorite singer, I don't really have one.
Oh, okay. You like them all?
Yeah.
Isn't that sad about that dancer that died from eating peanuts? Did you
Oh
see
yeah,
that?
Sue Leonard.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. One peanut, one bite, boom, she's gone. Oh, so sad. Yeah, it wasn't labeled properly.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, Emma.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite social media is TikTok. Last TV show I binge watched was Grey's Anatomy.
Ah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them, 20 seasons.
Yeah. I didn't finish it, but
Yeah.
I watched like 2 seasons in 2 days.
Nice.
And then favorite sport, either soccer or lacrosse. And then favorite singer, maybe like, I don't really know.
Oh, okay, nobody's committing on the singer. I've had some new pencils for y'all. Does anyone like pencils, or do you have pens, or do you have anything? Here you go. So just got some new pencils for us. So, great, I'll go. I'll say, my name's Dale Southorn. I don't go to school anymore. School of Life, grade 1,000, since high school. Favorite social media, I'm YouTube. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. If that's social media, sort of. And last TV show binge watch, probably Yellowstone, catching up on Yellowstone. Favorite sport, to watch football, to do skiing. Went on Monday. It was nice. Went up to, ever been to West Point? There's a nice little hill at West Point that a lot of people don't even know about. Nice little hill. I like it better than Thunder Ridge. I was telling your dad
It
about
was
it.
just so bad.
I know. I know. This little hill over in West Point there, has the same weather conditions as Thunder Ridge, so the snow is in. But it's on one chair, goes up, it's about 450 feet, vertical feet, a little more than, and it's just one nice long straight
Yeah,
run.
that's
It's
nice.
a nice intermediate run all the way down. Anyway, singer-songwriter. Well, when I was young, Neil Diamond was popular, and we're going to the Neil Diamond Broadway show this week, so that'll be fun. But I like, right now, current people, I like Jason Mraz a lot. I don't know if you know him. He's good. So yeah.
I don't use social media.
Okay.
I don't remember the last TV show I binge watched.
You're too busy with homework.
My favorite sport is golf. And
Oh,
I don't know what my favorite singer is.
golf. Interesting. Wow, I love watching women's golf. A lot of Korean women are really cleaning up there, aren't they? That's great. And Jenna.
I'm Jenna. My school is Andrew Middle School. I'm in 8th grade.
Do you guys go to the same school? No, you're at Yorktown and you're Yosemite.
My favorite social media, Snapchat.
Ah, okay.
The last TV show I binge watched on my blog.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
My favorite sport, or track or dance.
Practice dance.
And
Nice,
my
nice.
favorite song I sing, SZA.
Ah, I don't know that. That's the group or the song?
No, it's just the name of the girl. who
The
sings.
girl, her name is Sizzle?
SZA.
SZA, oh yes, I've heard of SZA, yes. I don't know what she sounds like, but I've heard of that. I've heard her. Okay, funny. Well, one of the things I've always had fun with is in life, in writing, serving, is alliteration. You know, and the first letter is all the same, it's kind of fun. So there's a lot of C words that have to do with this confirmation thing we're doing together. So I'm wondering how many we could come up with together. Let's start with C. Okay, church, there you go. Okay, there you go, Christ. And an extension of that, Christ, Christian.
Catechism.
Catechism, there you go. Boy, you're good. This is going to be a good class. What, anything else?
I was just using my folder to block my head.
Yeah, that's right. Anything else? That's good. You nailed it. I think you got most of it. I don't know if I had any more written down.
Confirmation.
Yeah, confirmation
That was the first
itself.
one.
Yeah, but catechism is a good one. You were paying attention to catch that one. Christ and Christian and church. I think that might be it. I think we covered most of the good ones. I want to just kind of highlight the essentials of the Christ event. You said C, one of the key C words is Christ. We're here because of Jesus Christ, this person who lived 2,000 years ago, and thousands of books have been written about him, people have written about him, people have followed him, people have died for him, people have been, you know, thought he never existed, or whatever, just all over the place. But what are the essentials of it? He was born at Christmas, we just celebrated Christmas, right? And there was something special about his birth that we celebrated at Christmas. So he was a special gift of God that came to us at Christmas. Grew up, we don't know much about his childhood. There's one story in the Gospel of Luke when he was 12 years old. So we know he was a boy, a child, a teenager. He got pimples, he got, you know, grew up, and then he was baptized and began his ministry, and that's where the Gospel of Mark picks up. And then this ministry, what were some of the main things about Jesus' ministry? We'll go into more depth later. Just a quick thumbnail sketch. What was special about him? Did he lead a lot of battles and victory and war or anything like that? No, that's not what he did. What did he do?
He spread the word of the gospel.
He spread the word, so he had teachings about life, about God, about peace, about loving your neighbor. So it's what he said, and then what are one of the main things he did for people? He healed them, yeah, healed them. Miracles of healing and compassion for people that were on the outside that he brought in, lepers. Be like the homeless today, a dirty person sitting in a pile of cardboard, he would care about that person, you know, he'd pull them in to get help and so on. So Jesus, and then did the authorities like him? No. That's what happened, eh? And so, you know, he's an example of someone who stood up for what was right and what was true and what God wanted him to do, even though got him in trouble. So sometimes we read about people like Martin Luther King Jr. and others who, John Lewis, the guy that just died that was in Congress for a long time, marched with Martin Luther King Jr. John Lewis called good trouble, getting good trouble. So don't get in trouble just for trouble's sake, but if it's on the side of justice and on the side of good, got in trouble. So Jesus got himself in trouble with the authorities, and of course they arrested him and crucified him. Right? He was a martyr for it. And that in itself, if that was the end of the story, that would be powerful enough. But it wasn't the end of the story, was it? So the third day he rose again, and something miraculous happened that his disciples saw him and experienced him and have followed him ever since. So Yeah, help yourself. Oh, hi, that was your mom. Didn't even see her, that was sneaky. So, yeah, help yourself, yeah. Starbucks run. Yeah. There's these little Rice Krispie squares and
You'll get a
hint water. There you go, help yourself, get a hint. So then what does it mean, this thing happened 2,000 years ago, what does it mean to be a Christian now, 2,000 years later?
To, like, be a good person and read the Bible and
That's what it called, yeah, exactly. That's part of what it means to be a Christian, yes. What, the word Christian, you know, obviously it's got Christ in it, right? And then that little ending, that being a Christian, it means literally Christ one. So a Christ follower, someone who wants to be part of the Christ movement, is what it, when we say Christian. So you are a Christian, you're a follower of Jesus Christ. And so you want to, if you follow someone, it's not like following on TikTok, oh maybe it is, or maybe it is, but even stronger than that, you want to be like them, right? So you want to, as much as possible, model your life after his. So just real quickly, this is just a quick overview on this yellow sheet. Catechism, I've been asking you to read some questions out of a catechism, we'll talk about it in a minute. Well, what is a catechism? You've maybe heard some of your Catholic friends, probably have a lot of Roman Catholic friends. They'll talk about catechism, they have to go to catechism class. So we have a catechism in the Presbyterian Church. We're not as strict about it as Catholics are, but it just means to teach. It's a teaching tool. The word catechism just means learning or teaching. And so it's a teaching tool. And so it covers these 5, almost all of the catechisms of the Catholic Church and Presbyterian Church and other denominations cover these basic things. It says something about who Jesus Christ is and this whole idea of God being a Trinity, 3 persons. About the Apostles' Creed, we'll talk more about. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. You ever heard that at all? We do it once in a while in church, we'll do it. We'll learn it together. The 10 Commandments, you've heard of those in Sunday school. The sacraments, and there are 2 of them. We're going to know that by the end of this class. Does anyone know what they are? There are 2, what we call sacraments, very sacred things we do in church.
Right.
One is, we just did one last Sunday.
Oh,
Baptism, yes.
Oh, like Eucharist.
And then the other one is Eucharist or Communion or Lord's Supper. Yeah. So baptism and the Lord's Supper. So if you get asked that anytime, you know there's 2 sacraments. And then the Lord's Prayer that we say every week. So these are kind of the 5 pillars of our faith. You know, Islam uses that language. There's 5 pillars of Islam. And they like to do alms, to do good for the poor, to do Mecca, to do, you know, or to do pilgrimage and so on. But ours here, these are our 5. And so then we're going to read scripture together, the Gospel of Mark, and we're going to read in worship. Hey, we don't have anyone scheduled to read scripture today. Would one of you want to jump right in and read the Bible today?
Sure.
Yay! Okay, we'll talk after class. I'll give it to you, and it's pretty easy out of this.
I would have to see it.
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah, of course.
Would.
Of course, I'll give it to you right
Yeah,
after class. Yeah, fantastic. Great, I'll get it to you.
Yes, I love.
So then our assignments next week, we'll move on to Mark chapter 2 and catechism questions 11 through 20, because, turn the page, that white page, we're going to review the homework. That I've kind of combined 2 lessons here. The first one I'll try to do quickly so we can go into this, the white sheet that says Presbyterianism 101. You have that together? So let's review the homework that I asked you to do. And then, you know, we're just getting started, so don't feel guilty if you didn't have time to do it or forgot about it or whatever. But the Gospel of Mark, that very first chapter in Mark's Gospel, what happened in there? Anyone read it?
I didn't really understand what it was saying.
Okay.
I don't know if I read the right thing, but he was healing Jesus.
He was already, and he was baptized. He was baptized in the River Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And so Mark's gospel is interesting, and one of the reasons we're reading it, I joke that we read it because it's the shortest, so you know, be easy on you. But also, it just covers the essential. There's nothing about Christmas, is there? There's nothing about his birth, his, you know, Mary and Joseph and Bethlehem and all that. Nothing. It just starts, boom. There was a man named John, and he was baptized in the River Jordan, and along came Jesus, and he said, repent and believe the good news of the gospel, and he's baptized and starts healing people, and boom. So it's really fast paced. He's moving, he's on the move, he's going. So every chapter, it's like we're talking about TV shows a minute ago. You know, some TV shows they just talk, boring. You know, and then another show there's like car chases and, you know, all kinds of things happening all the time. So Mark is a fast-paced gospel. So there's stuff happening every week. So we're learning about who Jesus is right away. It starts with his baptism. And so that's why baptism is such an important thing in the Christian life and in confirmation. Is that it's the start of our, it's the symbolic beginning of our life as a Christian, following Jesus. So if we're baptized as a baby, we're confirmed now to say we claim that for ourselves. If we wait until later and are baptized later, that's when our, just like Jesus began his ministry with baptism, so do we. The confirmation questions, did anyone have a look at those? Yeah, that's the thing with the 10 questions, yeah. And I'll have to look over someone's shoulder and bring mine. I thought I'd look on my phone, but I forgot my phone's gonna be up there. I'll look at the I looked at them again myself, but did anyone have any thoughts? See how it starts? It starts about you, making it personal. You know, what is the purpose? What's God's purpose for your life? So you see how this question and answer thing works in a catechism?
Yeah, I was confused. I thought we had to answer.
No, you don't have to answer. You just have to read them and think about it, because
I have
it's,
a question.
yes.
Which sheet like shows the homework for next? Because I didn't know what we had to
It's
do.
inside the paper.
I sent an email. Did you all get my email?
Oh, was it in the email?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So that's okay. You read every week. I'll send you an email, and I've got your phone numbers from your folks last week. We'll send some. Maybe I'll send a text to remind you on Saturday or Friday. What would be better? Like Friday evening, Saturday morning. Okay. Because I know you're busy all week and you got a lot going on. So Friday or Saturday, I'll text you, send you an email, and it'll tell you what to do for the weekend. But also on that, on your calendar last week, it doesn't say each and every week, read this. But in the yellow sheet, it says number 2 is reading assignments. Read the Gospel of Mark, approximately 1 chapter per week.
Okay.
And read the study catechism, approximately 10 questions per week. So I'll just remind you, because you'll forget. Am I on chapter 3 now, or 4 or 5 or 6? Where am I? 16 chapters in the Gospel of Mark, and there's 106 of these. So it's going to take 11 weeks to get through these, and 16 weeks to get through the Gospel. And that would take us right about to confirmation. So anything else? You notice those first few questions are just real personal. You know, about you as a person, those first 4 questions. And when you see a question and answer format, the answer is not meant to be, this is the answer, the right answer, end of discussion. No, it's meant to be an answer, or an answer that contains the essential truths about our faith. But it's meant to share some content with you, but also make you think. You know how in school, some classes, you're just supposed to learn information, right? Math. 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9. I mean, there's nothing to discuss. It is what it is. So that's information. You get information. Other classes, you're supposed to think, right? Like social studies around the implication of slavery in American history or something. You have to think about that. It's not just information. You have to get the information first, and then you have to think about it, right? So that's what we hope you do with this, is you get the information, and then you think about it. Okay, so the first four are just really personal about you and your relationship with God. And God has a purpose for your life, and a little Trinitarian formula there. There's the first one about you, and then the next three, Jesus Christ, love of God, communion of the Holy Spirit. At the end of every worship service, I say, may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, so that's that line, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with each one of you. And all God's people say. I say that every week. So it comes out of the Bible. That's a formula there. And then the next few questions, we're starting into the Apostles' Creed already. Questions 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goes all the way down to quite a few questions deal. So the next several weeks we'll be dealing with the Apostles' Creed. Okay, so try to read 10 or so a week, and I'll send you the reminder of what we're going to read together and what we'll be discussing. And we'll kind of start each class with a check-in on, okay, any questions? Yeah, I didn't understand why Jesus did that. What was that about? I don't get this question. That doesn't make sense to me from the catechism. Okay? So I'm going to give you, let's look at this, go back to this white sheet then. I want to give you sort of a quick overview of what I'm calling Presbyterianism 101. We used to use numbers like that in college. Basic class was, your first class was English 101 or Math 101, your very first class. So this is Presbyterianism 101. Yeah, so the flip side of the one that has some crosses on one side, the other side has this. Yeah. So one side has that, one side has this. So the side that has some blanks on it, a timeline of our Presbyterian story. Just ever so quickly, and we'll talk more about history. In fact, Jenna's grandpa will come and tell us about an important part of history in the church. But we have Jesus happened, and then the disciples spread the gospel around the Mediterranean and into Europe, and even as far away as India, some of the apostles went. But mainly what happened in Europe over the next 2,000 years. Catholic Church was the only game in town for a long time. Then this period we call the Reformation. You heard about Martin Luther and the Reformation. John Calvin. There was Martin Luther first in Germany, and then in Switzerland, a guy named John Calvin. He was French, but he fled to the French part of what is now Switzerland in Geneva, because the French king of France was out to get him. So he fled to be safe with his beliefs that he wanted to get away from the Catholic Church. So, power struggles happening then. John Calvin organized the church in Geneva, and it became a refugee city. Talk about the borders, the people rushing there. Geneva took in, there was a city of about 10,000 people. Over the next 20 years, in the early 1500s, mid 1500s, it grew from 10,000 people to 30,000 people in just a few years. It was just like people were coming from all over because they were running away from being persecuted somewhere else. So they wanted to come to Geneva. So John Calvin is big in our history. A guy named John Knox. Ever heard of him? K-N-O-X, John Knox. He was from Scotland. He ran away from a Catholic queen, Mary Queen of Scots. Came to Geneva, learned all about John Calvin's ideas. Then once Mary was gone in Scotland, he went back to Scotland, and King James took over, and he went back to Scotland and then spread his ideas through Scotland. So today, the official church in Scotland is the Presbyterian Church. Did you know that? So like in a lot of European countries, they still have an official church. We don't have that in this country, do we? There's no official church. But in like Sweden, it's the Lutheran Church. And in Denmark, it's the Lutheran Church. Well, in Scotland, it's the Presbyterian Church.
Everyone goes to the same church.
No, they don't all go there, but the history is, so the Church of Scotland is a Presbyterian church. And so then as people emigrated to this country after during the colonial period, a lot of our ancestors came from Britain and Scotland and Ireland and Scotch-Irish. They brought Presbyterianism with them. So especially people that settled in our part of the country, New York, Pennsylvania, these states, around us here in New Jersey were a lot of Presbyterians, a lot of Catholics too, a lot of other kinds of Protestants, Baptists, and so on too, but still a lot of Presbyterians. So we brought it to this country, and some people even say that the or the form of government we have in the United States was modeled after Presbyterian government. We'll talk more about that later. But anyway, so that's just in a nutshell. So then the church has grown in this country. We have many different kinds of churches who call themselves Presbyterian. We are part of the largest group. There's about 20,000 Presbyterian churches in the country, about 2 million members in the country that call themselves Presbyterian. That may sound like a lot, but it's not very many. There's like 10 million Methodists, there's like 50 million Catholics, so we're not very big, but there's a lot of us in this country. So let's talk about what it means to be Presbyterian. What does the word presbyter mean? Do you know what the word presbyter? A lot of our words have Latin roots. Do you know what the word presbyter means? I'm sure you don't. I didn't know it for a long time. When you're getting old, if you go to the doctor and they examine your eyes, you said, oh, you've got presbyopathy, meaning you're getting old, your eyes are getting bad because you're getting old. You need glasses now, like me. So the word presbyter means literally elder. You're getting old. So presbyter means elder. So that's kind of bad marketing, isn't it? No one wants to come join the old church, the elder church, the old person church. Nobody likes that idea. But what it means is the elders of our church lead the denomination. It's not a pope. It's not a bishop. It's elders. So some of your parents, grandparents, and so on have been elders in our church. They lead the church. I'm really just one of the elders as pastor of the church. I have a unique role among the elders, but I am an elder. So we are all elders. So to be Presbyterian is to be an elder-led church, as opposed to a bishop-led or a pope in charge of the church. There's no one person in charge. It's the elders who lead the church. I already gave you some hints on a couple things. Who was the guy in Geneva again?
John.
No.
Nope.
Calvin.
There you go, John Calvin. So John Calvin, that's good. So Calvin and Hobbes was a cartoon strip a long time ago, and it was named after John Calvin and John Hobbes, who was a historical figure around England. So then in Scotland, who was that guy? Another John Knox. There you go.
What was John's last name in Geneva?
Calvin.
Okay.
Yeah. So this little paragraph is important, number 5 here. Splits and get-togethers. The Presbyterian Church split just like the country did. Presbyterian split in the 1800s over what? What did the country split over in the 1800s? It was the Civil War, huh?
Sleep.
There you go, slavery. Believe it or not, there were Presbyterians in the South who thought slavery was God's plan for us and for society. That slavery was a good thing. They convinced themselves that they brought these heathen people, these savages, they even use language like that, from Africa where they didn't know anything, they lived in the jungle, brought them here, and we've given them a good life. And we're teaching them the gospel. And they convinced themselves that was a good thing, even though it was a brutal system that, they beat people, they keep them in submission, all that stuff. People in the northern Presbyterian churches said that's absolutely evil. God cannot tolerate this, and so just like the government split and the state split, so did the Presbyterian church split. Churches in the north became the United Presbyterian Church, and churches in the south became the Presbyterian Church US, and we went different ways. We came back together in guess what year? The Civil War was over in 1865, right? And then we've had struggles ever since. You know, we had the civil rights movement in the 60s, Martin Luther King and all that. We're still working on it, right? Well, Presbyterians finally got back together and said, you know, slavery's over, let's get back together. 1983. Took us 120 years to get over it. So when I was in seminary in 1991, I went to seminary and started to become a pastor. That was pretty recent news. It was only 8 years earlier that we'd come together. So in what year did the two branches combine? 1983. Can you believe that? It took us 120 years after the end of the Civil War. Where is that? I wrote 1983 on my notes here. Yeah. And the name then of our reunited church is, you put it all together, it's a mouthful because it was United Presbyterian Church and Presbyterian Church in the U.S. We're now the PCUSA. You might hear us say that. Presbyterian Church USA. Our official word is not Presbyterian Church in the United States of America. It's the Presbyterian Church, and then in brackets, USA. So we shorten that down to just be PCUSA with the USA part in brackets. So if you see that in the bulletin or in material somewhere, that's what the name of our church is. Well, guess what? We finally got over the slavery thing. We came back together. In recent years, we've split again, and people have left again, and churches have left the denomination again. Oh boy, here we go again. We just got back together. Now what are they leaving over? Is it slavery? No? You want to take a guess at what the people? Some churches get mad and they've left. They don't like the direction that the Presbyterian Church has gone. You have any idea what that might be? People argue about it. Mostly we're done arguing, but there's some people that still want to argue about it. Sexuality, human sexuality, like whether it's okay to be a Christian and be gay and have a same-sex relationship with men in our church who are married and have two beautiful children. My daughter is gay and she has a partner and wants to have a family. As most of us Presbyterians have said, that's okay. God created those people, that's the way they are, we love them, they're part of us, we're not going to judge. There are others who say, well, the Bible says this, and it can't be that way, it's supposed to be one man, one woman, and nothing else. And so those people mostly left. So we've split over that issue. So you can just say we split over sexuality or gender identity, and at the base of it is something called biblical interpretation. How strictly are we going to interpret the Bible? And those who want to take the Bible in more of a metaphorical, it's teaching us good truths, it's teaching us a story. We don't have to necessarily take everything literally, that exactly happened that way and it means exactly that. Because if you do that, it gets pretty weird. Then in the Old Testament, a lot of people had several wives. God told people to go kill people. You couldn't wear certain kinds of clothes. You couldn't eat certain kinds of meat. And a lot of that was teachings for a period of time in various situations, and so we don't take it that literally. So that's kind of at the heart of it, is how literally do you want to take the Bible? And we're of the main Presbyterian churches. Wait a minute, it's not meant to be taken literally. It's meant to teach us about God and teach us about life in bigger ways. Okay, so we need to pretty much stop, but let's just do one more question there. PCMK is led by yes, elders, and it's called the session. That's a weird word, but session. So the group of elders together is what we call the session, which includes elders and the pastor. Any pastor, like there's only one pastor in this church. Some churches have 2 or 3 pastors or more. Okay, and so pastors are always part of the session. PCMK also elects a board of, there's 2 other boards. There you go, trustees, yep. Good. And they kind of watch over the money and take care of the building and the property and that kind of thing. There's another one. Does anyone know? Some of your parents have been, your mom was one for a long time. Deacons, that's right. Deacons. Okay. And we'll just do this real fast. So elders and pastors from PCMK are sent to meetings of Hudson River Presbytery. That's a big word. But it just means the group, there's 80 churches in Westchester County, Rockland County, Putnam County, the other counties around here, Orange County. And there's 80 churches, they're part of Hudson River. So we're a part of that. What does it do for us? Well, they a lot of things, but just for today, they lent us money. They gave us $25,000 to build that solar panel on our roof that we're going to do. Zero interest, we don't have to pay any interest on it. They gave us $25,000. We'll pay it back over the next 5 years. So then our presbytery sends commissioners to what's called a General Assembly. That meets once every 2 years, somewhere in the country. And the next one will be this summer in, where is it going to be? It's going to be in Minnesota, I think. Minnesota 2024. So we'll have to leave it there. What are some good things about being a Presbyterian? You can be thinking about those this week, okay? I think it's in Minnesota. I'll have to look that up, actually, to be honest. I'm not going this year, but I think it's in Minnesota. Meet somewhere in the country once every 2 years. So I'll watch for an email. I'll send it to you. I'll send a calendar about reading. But starting next week, you'll all take turns about reading the Bible. So we'll spend some time in our class next time about how to do that. But Emma's going to be brave and jump in today. It's a good reading. It's out of the Psalms. Usually it's a psalm. And so it's just, praising God for God's faithfulness. Next week we'll look at this because this is really kind of cool. This is the logo of the Presbyterian Church. And it's on the back there. And we'll talk about that next week just because I think it's kind of cool. All right, thank you. I'm going to take a minute. Emma, come with me and let's go print out that reading so you can have it. And we will see you at church. Today's the annual meeting, remember, after church?
Oh, yeah.
So,